So I haven't done an electronics video in a while, um, and I thought I'd try out my webcam. Let's see my old scruffy face. This is actually all coming off pretty soon, probably this week sometime. This and the old, you can see it back there with the old ponytail. Getting a haircut and trimming up the beard. Gonna try to bring the old baby face back. But I'm actually want today to show you some of the headphones that I have modified or in some cases kind of built from parts. But I think headphones are really cool. I like the science behind them. I really like all kind of music electronics. That's kind of what I studied when I was in college. Never graduated, but that's something I've always had a passion for: headphones, music, recording instrument, recording devices, stuff like that. I think that stuff's really cool. So I thought I'd show you some of my headphones that I use on a fairly regular basis. These I don't use too much anymore, but these are Sennheiser HD 280 Pros. They have been highly modified though. Originally these come with a single-sided cable that runs down. It's like a little curly Q pigtail kind of thing, and it terminates in a 3.5 millimeter stereo jack. This particular set of headphones I have modified to where the cables are. I'll just do one. If I can find it, I'll do this one. Where the cables are detachable. They are 4-pin mini XLR jacks, and they plug in to the headphone cups. There's the male end and the female end, and the cable that I recabled it with was an old stereo guitar cable, and I don't terminate it in a 3.5 millimeter jack anymore. It terminates in a 1/4 inch jack, which is bigger. This is an old stereo guitar cable. It has a Tech Flex coating, or not coating, like a protective kind of wrap around it. But I made this cable out of an old guitar cable, and I rewired these to where each individual driver comes out each side. The left and right channels are separated like that. This keeps the standard, I think it's 40 millimeter, 40 or 42 millimeter drivers in this headphone, and these are an incredibly neutral sounding headphone. They don't color the music at all. They don't color what you're listening to at all. That's why these are great studio monitors. They're great for mixing. They're great for mastering. Any kind of audio engineering type stuff. These are great entry-level headphones for that. Of course, they don't come with this fancy cable and fancy wiring system. I did that myself. But they're about $100 new. I think that's what I paid for them about 3 years ago. And they're just a great headphone if you need to hear exactly how the music was recorded, or how whatever it is that you're listening to is recorded. But yeah, these are great. These are the headphones I used to use for all of my home recording and mixing and mastering and all that kind of stuff that we used to do back in the day. Just a great set of headphones, and then made even better through these kind of complicated modifications. But if you know the principles behind how speakers are wired, and you're handy with a soldering gun, you could do the same thing that I did. It's not that hard. So, but these are the first ones I wanted to show you, because this kind of started my whole headphone modifying thing that I got into for a while. That I'm still into. I'm happy with what I have now. I have headphones to meet various needs, and these are what I like for if I need to do any kind of critical listening. So I'll show you the next one, the next set that I've modified. Or these are more built than anything else, but I'll show them to you in just a second. So these are as you can see, a little bit smaller. They're significantly less bulky. Um, the previous headphones that I showed you, the Sennheiser HD280 Pros, those are called closed back headphones. That means they're sealed. They're circumaural, so they completely surround your ear, and then they're sealed. There's no holes leaking in and out. And those are great for studio work, like what I said they were originally for, because you can't hear anything that's going on around you, and you don't disturb the other people, or what you're listening to doesn't get transferred and possibly picked up by some of the other recording devices. These are a fairly inexpensive set of Sennheiser HD202s. They're cheap, and they come with a lot of Sennheiser recording gear that you can get. I think they're only about $20, maybe 20 to 40, something like that. I don't know. I got these for free. Like I said, they came with some other equipment that I bought. But these are essentially not even the same headphones anymore. Everything on these have been gutted and replaced, except essentially for the housings, and even the housings have been modified. First off, we'll start with the drivers. I took the old drivers out. They weren't bad. They were just kind of they were a little too bassy for me. A little too much low mid range. They were a little thick. I like to hear everything. I like to hear every part of the music fairly evenly when I'm listening to music. So I kind of built these with a very specific sonic signature in mind. The drivers that I use are a very inexpensive set of Koss KSC 35s. They're just cheap little clip-on headphones, but they're 40mm drivers. And if you drill some holes in the covering of the drivers on those, it's called the Kramer mod. If you do that, it really opens up the sound. And those are actually open headphones themselves. So I installed those into here, and because I put open headphone drivers into a closed headphones housing, I had to drill, I don't know if you can see, but I had to drill holes in the back of these. You can see the back of the driver inside that little hole over here. That's the back of the driver. And then, I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it in this little hole right here. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But you can see how I wired it up. Now, I wired these headphones up with detachable cables also. I like those because it makes it a lot easier to take them places, and just because more I was experimenting with some of the electronics type stuff that I was trying to do at the time. But these are, instead of using the 4-pin XLR jacks, I used some 3.5mm jacks that I had lying around, and then I ordered some female ends and installed those. So these cables, both of these sides are detachable. The cable I made, it's the same, it's very similar to, or it's actually the same guts from that same guitar cable that I used on the Sennheiser HD280 Pros, but I wired these up to where it terminates in an angled 3.5mm jack. Now these are all stereo jacks. That's just because that's what I had on hand. I would have rather used mono jacks here and here, but I just wired it to where there's no the middle ring. Like if you look, there's 3 rings. There's the bottom, the middle, and then the tip. I just basically am not using the middle ring on both of these jacks, so it's just the tip and the sleeve. But this is a same Mugami guitar cable that I gutted and then braided. Supposedly this does something to inhibit EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, and that's just the way this is wrapped. I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't really listen in a very radio frequency noisy area. I usually am just sitting at my computer. And with these, I like to use adapters because the headphone amplifier that I plug into is it kind of, I don't like having a lot of weight on just the little 3.5 jack that's on the headphone amp. So I plug this in because it seems to hold it a little more sturdy. But I just keep a couple of those laying around. But this is great for listening on mobile devices. But if you're going to use this on a mobile device, you really need some kind of a headphone amp. We can talk about this at another time because the way I have these headphones wired is I wired an extra resistor into each side. So the impedance on these headphones are higher. The reason I did that is because I want to have to drive these harder, because since I use a tube headphone amplifier, it actually sounds better when you drive that thing a little bit more. It doesn't distort or anything. It just kind of opens up the sound a little bit better. So each of these has a 75 ohm resistor wired in with them. So they, I think the impedance on these is around 120 ohms. The Sennheiser 280s, they are just the stock 60 ohms, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of low, which is not a big deal. It means a lot of different stuff can drive it, but with it having that quarter-inch jack, pretty much anything can drive it. These, on the other hand, need a little bit more juice, so you need like a good headphone amp to drive these. But these sound really good, better than I thought they would. When I built them, it was more of an experiment than anything else. But just because, I guess, it all added up to some really good sounding headphones. These are one of my best sounding headphones. They're comfortable. That's why I use these housings. They were from Cheap Headphones, but the housings are super comfortable. They're padded. They're smooshy on the side, smooshy on the top, and just comfortable. And they're fairly, they're not too bulky, and they're definitely not heavy. They're definitely a lot lighter than the 280s. So this is just, these I built essentially out of parts, and they sounded way better than, they blew my expectations out of the water. So let me show you my next one, which is another really highly modified set of headphones. They're not my favorite headphones, but they were more of an experiment, and just because I had a bunch of parts laying around, and so I threw them together to get a set of headphones. So let's check that in just a second. So if you think these look kind of gaudy and a little retro, that was the point. I built these as part of a kind of a costume for Dickens on the Strand. They have a big steampunk thing, and my wife and my son and I went one year, and we decided to dress up, and so I wanted some steampunk headphones so that I could, if I got bored, I could plug in into my steampunk phone and listen to some music or something like that. But these, the housings are an old set of Sony headphones. I don't even know the make and model. It would say it on here, but I've painted them and wrapped them with some leather and stuff. So I mean, you can kind of see that's kind of an old timey look to them. But and then I have little gears. These are actually little brass gears that come out of a natural gas residential meter. I just put them on there because I thought they looked cool, kind of give a cool steampunk kind of vibe. But the drivers on these are 40mm drivers that came out of the HD 202s, the ones I just showed you. The 202s have the COS drivers, and these have the 202s in. The reason I put the 202s in here because the 202s are originally a closed back headphone, so these drivers that are in here, you see them right there, they were already made for a closed back headphone, and then this housing was a closed back headphone. So what I did with these was I basically ended up having to hog all, you see that's totally open. There's no grill covering that speaker. That speaker, you can actually see the speaker cone and you can see the wiring and inside the speaker cone and all that stuff. It's totally open. So you really have to be careful that you don't get stuff in there. And if you have long hair like I do, you got to make sure it's tucked back behind your ear, because your hair touching that speaker cone can affect the sound. It can kind of muffle it and stuff. These are super kind of woofy headphones. They have lots of bass. They don't have very much treble. So if you like to, listen to a lot of driving, dubstep, a lot of heavy rap music, stuff like that, then that's kind of what these excel at. And I do use these occasionally from time to time if that's what I'm in the mood for. Um, the weird thing about these housings is I don't think they're big enough. I don't think they were the ear cups were made big enough for these drivers. I think these drivers need more air behind them. But I built it for fun and just to test it out. So but it works okay. They don't sound the best. They certainly look cool, and they sound okay. They're not as nice as the last set of headphones I showed you. They're certainly not as colorless as the first set of headphones I showed you. And they're definitely not as nice as the last one I'm going to show you. But these I just built out of parts just because I had, I was practicing my soldering and stuff like that and electronic stuff. These have two resistors wired into them. One is wired in parallel and one is wired in series. For a total of, I think these are right around the 230 ohm. So these do take a lot of power to drive, being so small and kind of weeny. That kind of, I think, has a lot to do with affecting the sound and why they're kind of woofy. Just because it's not driving that sparkly top end. I think another part of the issue is the part of the, if you look, part of the speaker is being covered up by the ear pad. This hole is not quite 40 millimeters in diameter, and the little speaker in there is. So I think that kind of is not helping, but generally you get your lowest sounds from the outside. If this is your speaker, your outside rim of the speaker is where you're going to get most of your bass frequencies from what I understand. I could be wrong on that. And then your higher frequencies are going to be from like the inside portion of the speaker. So why these are so bassy, if that's the case, if I'm correct on that, I don't know. Maybe they're super bassy and just they're kind of being tamed a little bit by the placement of those speakers. But they were fun. It was a fun project. The cable I made from some Cat 5 cable, some gutted Cat 5 cable that I had, Ethernet cable. It's covered in cloth. This is an old shoelace that I pulled the guts out of, and this is just some 550 paracord that's gutted. And these are braided the same way that the last pair of headphones that I showed you. They have a cloth casing around them, and it terminates in a 3.5 millimeter jack. So I like to use this with some kind of an adapter. And they sound okay. They sound pretty good. They were a fun project. They certainly look great with a steampunk costume. They're not the best sounding headphones, but they're good. They're great. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just not my favorite. So let me show you my last set of headphones and probably my current favorite. And these are probably, for the most part, the most stock, but they're modified to be just a little bit better. So I'll show you those in just a second. So you just saw me kind of scratch my nose. I wasn't picking it, I was scratching it. This is the last set I want to show you. These are kind of the most probably retro looking headphones that I have. They're incredibly comfortable. You'd think they wouldn't be the way that they look, but they're actually super comfortable. But these are Grado SR60Is. If you know headphones, if you know cartridges for record players and stuff like that, turntables, you know about Grado. Grado makes some of the best cartridges and some of the most expensive cartridges that you can get. They also make some of the best and some of the most expensive headphones you can get. These are my favorite headphones just for listening. The original SR60s come with a plastic housing Um, they use I think it's 58 or 52 or 54 or something like that millimeter drivers. They're big drivers. They're very 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 large. Um, they don't look it, but they fill up um, this entire housing. These housings are actually made of mahogany. The entire ear cup is machined out of a block of mahogany. Um, and then I have the drivers put in there just like that. And these are the ones it comes with. It's just kind of a squishy foam pad. Um, but they let me see if I can get that back up. Yeah, there we go. But the mahogany has a different resonance. Since the mahogany is a natural material, it's kind of it's dense, but at the same time, it's not as it does have it does breathe a little bit more than the plastic that they're originally made out of. The plastic kind of gave it a more snappy sound. When I installed them into these mahogany cups, which I did not make. These were made by Turbulent Labs out of Canada. But these and you can order them online. I think they're $75 or $90 for the cups, which is kind of crazy considering the headphones only cost $60. But it really changed the sound and kind of really it tamed some of that high mid range that bite, that bark that these Grado headphones are kind of known for having and people not necessarily liking. So that's really the only things that I've done to this headphone are aesthetic things. The band, the original band was just a little thin vinyl thing that was fairly uncomfortable. Didn't have any padding. These have padding. This is um, a leather band. It's also made by Turbulent Labs. I ordered them both at the same time, and it really makes them more comfortable. It gives you some padding underneath here, so when it's sitting on top of your head for a long time, like if you're watching a movie for for 2 hours or so, they don't quite that metal band that's in here. You don't feel it pressing down on the middle of your scalp. Um, the way these adjust is you just kind of slide these little rods up and down through here, um, and of course they swivel on there because it's just basically a rod. These little housings are plastic, but they seem pretty tough. I know there's a couple of companies that will make. They're called gimbal. This section here is called a gimbal. But I know there's a couple of companies that will make those out of wood. If you want just for looks. These are some of the most highly modified headphones out there. There's whole subforums on the internet of people who just modify these headphones and try different things and stuff because they're a good sounding headphone to start with. They're easy to modify. They're open back, as you can see. This is just a wire mesh grill, so when you're listening to anything in these headphones, everyone can hear everything that you're listening to, and you can hear everything that's going on around you. That's one of the reasons I like these headphones, is because if I'm listening to something in headphones, and my wife calls me, something needs me to do something or whatever, can't open a jar or whatever. Or if my son wants my attention for some reason, then I can hear them calling for me. Or if the doorbell rings or whatever the case may be. Dog starts barking, somebody comes in, tries to rob me, whatever the case may be. I can hear it because I can hear everything going on around me. Just like right now, I'm talking, I can hear myself as if I weren't even wearing headphones. But the other advantage to these is that openness, how it's basically just a big wooden tube that air flows through in and out. It makes it to where when you're listening to something that is very dynamic, that it's spatially dynamic, like the way it was recorded, you can really hear. If it's a good recording, it makes a good recording sound really good, and it makes a bad recording sound not so good. So you really, when you listen, like these are my favorite things to test. Like if I recorded a piece of music or something like that, when I'm mixing it and stuff on the computer or whatever, I would use those Sennheiser HD280s. And then when I want to go back and just listen to it to see what it sounds like, I'll plug these things in and listen to it on there. And I know if it sounds good through these, then I probably did a pretty good job of mixing the recording and good job on microphone placement when I did the recording, to where everything sounds spatial. You can hear the space in between, like the drums sound like they're in the middle and the back. The bass sounds like it's over on the left side, about 30 feet in front of you. The guitars sound like they're, kind of towards the middle, more to the front, and then the singer's voice sounds like it's in an auditorium, like it should. Whatever you're going for, however, of course, however it was recorded or whatever, the things sound like where they're supposed to sound. And these headphones really shine in that. And that's what they're there for. These aren't quite done. There's a few more modifications I want to do these. A lot of people claim that silver cables, these are the cables that go to it. These are already, two-sided, but a lot of people claim that that silver sounds better. I don't know about that, but since I'm just doing it for fun, I know that there's some very expensive headphones that come with silver cables, 100% pure silver cables. What the heck? I'll give it a try. It's just desoldering 2 points here and 2 points here, and so if I don't like it, I can keep this cable and just resolder it back on there. This one came with an adapter, so these I think are 60 ohms, so a cell phone or an iPod or whatever should drive these headphones just fine. I don't have any kind of resistors wired into these or anything like that. But since I listen to a headphone amp, it's this whatever. I'll show you my mobile setup in another video, and I'll show you the two sets of headphones that I like to use with those. But these are the ones I'm loving right now. But yeah, these are the headphones that I like to use when I'm watching videos or watching movies or anything like that on the computer, because I made them and I'm proud of them, and I feel like I did a good job on the ones that I did. And yeah, so if you have any kind of a skill with a soldering iron, and even the least bit about how speakers are wired up, you can do this kind of stuff. It's not hard. A lot of these things are just modular, like this. Like you pop the old speaker out of the old housings, you pop it into these ones, and then you pop the housings back into the gimbals. This is just Legos basically. The other ones require a little more knowledge of soldering and how to do stuff like that and how to wire certain things up. But there's tons of information on the internet if you want to do that. This video has already been way too long. It's probably approaching 30 minutes, but yeah, it's probably over 30 minutes. But anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll answer them as best as I can. I am no electrical engineer. I just happen to know a little bit about soldering, and I know what I like as far as headphones go. So anyway, catch you later. Thanks.